Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about virtual booths. If you're unsure what a virtual booth is, it's basically an online photo booth that lives on a link that you can send around to your clients for them to use, collect data, integrates with BreezeFX for some really cool outputs, all while being operated on a phone or laptop or anything with a webcam or camera basically. So we're going to get into the three main parts about setting up a virtual booth. Those three things are setting up the BreezeFX configuration, setting up the microsite design, which we've talked about in previous videos, but we'll cover it again here briefly, and then actually setting up the virtual booth. So let's jump right in. We'll get started with the FX configurations. All right, so here we are on the FX configuration page. Let's create a new one. For this first one, we're just going to create a basic overlay for our photo. So for FX type, we'll select overlay, which costs 0 credits. And we'll upload our overlay. I'm going to be doing a square output, so I created a quick square overlay. For all the extras, you can set anything else you'd like here. Usage limit, if you only want it to work for a certain amount of time, put in the limit here. Background removal, if you want it to upload to your cloud account. And then your not suitable for work checkers. And you can set an additional background if you're using background removal. All right, so we're just going to save that. Perfect. Now that that's set, we're going to head over to the events to get it started. All right, here we are on the events page. Let's create a new event. And we'll call this virtual booth demo. If you have your gallery and microsite templates set up, set them there if you'd like. Pick a date. And we'll call this virtual demo as the ID. And let's save that. All right, once that's done, we're going to come over to the microsite. All right, so we need to set up the microsite so that we can see the photos after they're processed through the virtual booth. This is a template for my microsite that I designed previously for my company Nico Booths here. Set this up however you'd like. I'll link to the video in the top corner that we did previously on microsite design. But the important part for this, you scroll down to the media filters, you need to make sure that show photos is turned on. When Virtual Booth processes the images, it comes through as the actual photo. So even if you're using FX or you think the photos are being processed, the photo is the main one that's being created here in the virtual booth. So we'll save that. All right, now we're going to get into the design and setup of the virtual booth. Come over here to Cloud Survey, and we're going to hit Edit. So the type you're going to choose here is virtual booth. Once virtual booth is selected, you'll see all the options that you have to go through to set this up. So from the top here, we could see instead of actually capturing an image on their phone or laptop or a camera, you can turn on upload so that they'll be able to upload their own photo from their camera roll right into the virtual booth. We're not going to use that today, but the option is there. All right, we're going to come down to FX URL. Click there, and all the ones that you've created previously will show up in from your BreezeFX account. So let's just type in overlay as the one we just did. Okay. So now we come down to the buttons, capture, retake, and submit. These can be changed using the Font Awesome icon libraries. You'll see some of them are labeled Pro. If you have a paid account with Font Awesome, you can use them, but a majority of them are free to use. So you'd come in, you copy the code right there, and it'll paste that in if you want to change it right there. I'm going to keep the buttons as is, but let's change the colors. So the capture button, we'll make red. We'll do retake as a yellow. And submit as green. You can change the font for the countdown. Let's make it white, and we'll make it nice and big. We'll do 90. Aspect ratio. So this is where you could change the size of the output of the photos that are captured. Like I said before, and when I design the overlay, I'm going to keep it as a square, so I'm going to keep 4:4. But you can see the other options here as well. Countdown value will keep to 3. Flipped video. If you want it mirrored when they're seeing themselves in their camera, you can turn that on. Processing image, we can upload a GIF file that will play as the FX is being processed. You'll see the standard one that comes with it, and then we can change that later. Processing text, you can add in your own text. Your photo is being processed. All right, let's come down to design. And now this is similar to what we did before in the microsites and gallery design, so we'll enable a logo. Choose that. If you have a favicon, you can upload it there. We'll make the background color just a white. If you want to turn on a background image, you can, or all the stuff that we've gone over previously. Text settings. All right, we'll change that again. Make that a little bit bigger. Okay, we can turn the title on. And description. Description text. So here is where you'd put in instructions for the guest to use the virtual booth. So please fill out this form to use the virtual booth. Success, after they submit the form, the text can change. So we'll say congrats. And we'll keep that how it is. Footer. Put in your footer there as you'd like. Virtual booth by Awesome Photo Booth Co. Same thing with the success footer text. That can change also. We'll keep that for now. So you can change the text that shows on the return and submit buttons. So we'll change that to return. Change the font as you'd like. Same thing with submit. Change that to send it. All right, payment mode. We're not doing payments right now, so we can turn that off. And we'll come down to the builder. So the builder here is where you'll build out the form that the people have to fill out before they're able to take their photos. So we'll make this mandatory. Type, you can see all the different types that we have here. I'm actually going to make this an input. I'm going to set the string to S1 and label it name, placeholder text, full name. Input type will be a text box. You can turn on an NSFW checker if you want, or limit the number of characters. Let's add another element. Make this one mandatory also. Another input box. We'll set this to string 2. And label it email. Email address. And for the type, we'll select email. And you can turn on auto email if you'd like. Okay, that's it for now. We'll keep it nice and basic. Let's save that. So we come back to the main screen for the event, and if we hit view here under cloud survey, it'll open it up. I'm going to put this in on my phone. Okay, let's fill this out. It's going to ask you to allow the camera access. Press allow. Let's take a photo. All right, we see our buttons there colored. We'll press the check button to send it. There's the animated GIF. And there's our photo with our breeze overlay that we created there. So from here, they can save it. Press the arrow, and the options pop up to save it. You can long tap on it, save it right there. All right, so that was how to show how to do a basic overlay on a regular photo. Let's use some of the FX configurations that we have here to change it up a bit. So let's go back and edit the survey here. We'll get rid of that URL and we'll type in, I have a headshot one. Headshot there. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is just changing the configuration. We'll press save. All right, so that saved it. Let's go back to the main screen. I'm going to jump back over to my phone. All right, here we are back on the phone. Same thing, let's fill it out. And we'll just put an email in here. All right, allow access again. And let's take another photo. All right, let's send that. And now we're going to wait a little bit longer while the FX processes. So that headshot one is running through Nano Banana Pro. And we'll see how the outcome is as soon as this is done processing. But this is the animation here that you can upload your own GIF file to change this. All right, and there's our headshot. Same thing as before, we can save it. Right from here, it actually doesn't look too bad. I like that one. All right, perfect. All right, so that was just a simple prompt running through Nano Banana Pro to create a headshot. But let's show you how we can use the form elements to actually influence what the FX does. So I'm going to pull up a virtual booth here that we built during BreezeCon last week in Vegas. And let's edit the form here. So I have a Bobblehead prompt that I created that I'll show you in a second, but let's scroll down to the forms. All right, down here in the form is similar like before. So S1 and S2 I kept the same as before for name and email. For S3, I added a drop-down box to let the people choose their color that they want for the background behind them when they're taking their photo. So the type drop-down, I gave it an S3 string, labeled it your favorite color, and then you add your options. So I used hex codes just so I could have a precise control of the color. If you don't know what hex codes are, it's basically how programs like Photoshop and other ones specifically choose colors based on letters and numbers to specifically choose a color. So this is a yellow I chose. I have a blue, red, purple, green, and pink. Now remember, that value is set to S3, and I'll show you where this comes in when we go over to the FX configuration in a second. And S4 was another drop-down that I created for select a pose. So we did option 1 was arms crossed, option 2 peace sign, option 3 thumbs up, option 4 both thumbs up. All right, so S3 was color, S4 is the pose. Let's jump over to the FX so we can see it there. All right, we'll edit here. And if we scroll, I'll make this bigger so we can see the full prompt. So the prompt here is telling what to do. Turn the person into a 3D premium bobblehead figurine with all the details I want included, but we're going to come down here to the pose part. So pose. And you'll see here, arms and hands, S4. So whatever they choose in the form as the S4 string will get passed along to the prompt here. And the same applies for the background here. Background type, solid, background color, hex, S3. So whatever they choose as S3, it will pass along that hex code into the prompt so it knows exactly what to choose. Like we set up before in the overlay one, we can add an overlay here also. So I'll apply an overlay and I'll upload the same one as before. Okay, we'll save that out. Jump back to the events and go to the bobblehead. All right, so I'll pull this up on the phone again so we can see how it works. All right, here we are back on the phone. So we'll fill it out again. Just anything. All right, for your color, let's choose a purple. And for the pose, we'll do a peace sign. So let's hit submit, allow the access, and we'll take another photo. Away from the camera. All right, we'll submit that. And now we'll wait while this processes. All right, we can see here. Okay, it gave me glasses and a beard, but you see that the the selections worked from the form, doing the peace sign with the right colored background. All right, so that's how you set up a virtual booth. We started with the FX configurations, showed you a few different ways how to do a basic overlay, to using a nano banana prompt, to using the form elements to influence the prompt. We set up the microsite design. If you want some more tips on that, check out the video in the description below from one that we did previously. And then we set up the QR form with the elements. It's a lot of fun to play around with. So to add Virtual Booth to your cloud account, when you log in, head over to billing, and you'll see the virtual function listed here. You can turn it on. You can choose to pay monthly or yearly, and make sure you have a credit card or some other payment method set up here so that it all goes through and works. So that's it for this one, guys. Try out the Virtual Booth. Let's see what you can create. Leave some feedback in the comments below. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot, everyone.